Trading Card Game Concepts 101. Card Advantage. You might be finding yourself asking a single question, maybe a few questions. What is card advantage? How do I gain it? Why is it important? And how will it affect me in Disney Lorcana? Well, if you stick around in this video, we're going to give you all those answers and more. Make sure you stay all the way till the end so you get everything that you can possibly obtain from this video on card advantage. What is card advantage in trading card games? It's a really good question, right? Well, let's answer that for you. Card advantage in card games refers to a player's ability to have more cards in hand or their opponent. Having more cards than an opponent gives a player more options to choose from and increases their chance of finding the cards they need to win the game. It's not the only advantage though, right? There are other versions of card advantage. So how do I gain card advantage? There are several ways that a player can gain card advantage. Drawing additional cards, playing cards that allow them to search their deck for specific cards, sometimes known as tutors, using the cards that allow them to recycle or reuse cards from other zones, and players can also gain card advantage through combat or trading their cards effectively. As an example, by using one card to remove multiple cards from an opponent's hand, etc. Why is it important to have card advantage? Having card advantage is important in card games because it allows players to maintain control over the game and dictate the pace of play. With more options at their disposal, players can choose the best course of action to counter their opponent's moves and gain advantage in the game. So, you might find yourself finally asking, why does card advantage matter in Disney Lorcana? In Lorcana, since seemingly a substantial portion of your deck can also be used as resources or added to your inkwell, card advantage is important because the large portion of the cards you draw throughout the game need to be used as resources. Just because there is no set or obligated land, an example, for resource cards, does not mean that gaining resources in this game is free. Similar to how different online games work, or even former trading card games of the past, honestly. And you also really need to understand how to maintain card draw in order to maintain resource efficiency, which is all forms of card advantage. It's also important for you to understand that simply because the resource system is more flexible, it does not mean that the card advantage is not a major way of maintaining an inkwell advantage, which can definitely add up throughout a game. Now, Lorcana also gives you ways of card advantage because your characters can attack opposing characters directly. This means that throughout the game, there are plenty of opportunities for actual card advantage by the characters on your board. So, which cards in Lorcana are good examples of card advantage? Well, Aladdin and Mulan both present wonderful ways to maintain board state and increase your lore. Now, of course, that is a very vital phase of Lorcana that we're going to have to explore in future videos, but it's something that we decided was necessary to point out in this one. So why is it important, right? You might find yourself asking that. Why is that type of an advantage important? Well, let's break into it. Lore is the key, right? It is the absolute key. There's our good friend Flounder. Why am I bringing up Flounder? Well, Flounder, for example, in other games, this type of character with its strength and willpower, or power and toughness from other equivalent games, of course, cost ratio is a wonderful one-drop character in the game, or in any type of game that utilizes cost and strength, willpower, power, toughness, etc. But lore is now adding another factor to the game that you have to absolutely take into account when you're evaluating how to gain card advantage throughout a long-term game. So let's blow this up so we can all kind of go through this together. In Lorcana, however, you have the lore value stat that drives you towards the win condition. Since these cards are unlikely to enter combat with anything and live to tell the tale, and only have lore values of 1, they are likely to be walking Fire the Cannons. What are more restrictive, or where they can even damage opposing characters, as in since characters can only really damage exerted characters. This example is getting a little into another important TCG concept, which is tempo, but it bears some understanding up front when understanding how to direct challenge aspects of Lorcana will affect card advantage. And tempo, of course, will be something that we'll be focusing on in future videos. So through this lore key, Lorcana has added a new layer. I believe understanding how to effectively use characters to gain card advantage on board, when to play them, when to quest, when to challenge, is going to be a defining characteristics of solid Lorcana play. This will differ from other games where players may have been used to in the past. This does not mean that simply playing a large set of character and gaining more than one card from an opponent in a challenge is how you will win every single game of Lorcana, but by doing this throughout the game, it may leave you with more cards in hands, which is more options, and hopefully less cards that just simply can't help you in the game. Let's take a look at some of the additional cards gaining card advantage in Lorcana. So Robin Hood, Unrivaled Archer, is a perfect example of card advantage. It does many things for different points of the game, but the first thing it does is potentially replace itself when you play it. If with the ability of Feed the Poor, as long as your opponent has more cards in their hand, well then you get to play Robin Hood and you get to replace itself, which is a sifting card, which is a great utilization of card advantage. His ability for combat for Good Shot may also represent different versions of card advantage as well, which is really great and powerful, sometimes to leverage that wonderful challenging mode once again. Another great example is Mickey Mouse. Get a Clue is just another prime example of returning another card to your hand when you play this. Or, in this example, of ramping, which is a key term or kind of like a vocabulary from previous games where what it means is that it's accelerating your resource count to be used on future turns, which is a very powerful ability in any card game. And the last, of course, is one of the more obvious ones, Maleficent. Dragonfire is an ability that when you play this character, you may banish a chosen character. So this card is a 9-cost character, comes into play and just, strictly removes another character from the game, which is great because that's pure card advantage, because whatever they now have to do to remove your Maleficent is costing them another card, whereas Maleficent comes in, is a character, can gain you 2 lore on attacks, can do 7 damage to other characters, and has 5 willpower. So all of those wonderful stats lead up to being a fairly powerful card when utilized correctly. Card advantage is a difficult topic to describe. However, learning the concepts of what it is and how to gain it allows you to win, most games you might be otherwise impossible. Throughout the games, you will often be choose between simply protecting your current position and gaining advantage, and knowing when to pursue when is the most challenging aspects of any trading card game. And Lorcana will not be immune to this. Card advantage comes from many different places, but in some respects, almost every decision you make in a game of Lorcana will be with it in mind. But do not be a slave to it. Learn how to gain incremental advantage, and it adds up, the faster you might think. In other trading card games, card advantage is everything. We believe in Lorcana it's simply one of the more important pillars to success. Trading Card Game Concepts 101 is going to be a series that we continue to release on a weekly or bi-weekly period that are going to be adding layers to how to get better in card games in general, but most importantly, Disney Lorcana. Our next issue in this series will be resource management. If it's already been created, it'll be at the end of this video, but if not, you should look forward to it. You should hit subscribe on the channel so you can know exactly when it's going to come out. What I want to leave you with is really important, though. The Forbidden Mountain is created of a bunch of players from all over the world, from success in all layers of different card games, from top 8s and top 16s of nationals to world champions, literally at regional layers, world layers, national layers. We are some of the best players as a collective from all sorts of different card games. Our knowledge is second to none. I assure you that by following this channel, subscribing to this content, that you will 100% become a better Lorcana player. I thank you. Check out this video coming up soon on resource management. If not, check out one of our other videos on the channel that might be listed in this end screen as well. Tap it, click it. See you guys in the next video.